closely, you'll be very surprised at the kind of invasive technology that is now around. Where they put a little camera in the room of somebody and keep them under observation for a very, very long time. One of the big discussion points at the Summer Academy in Kiel was the proposal by the German government to introduce a law that will allow the government to install what they call online search of your PC. Online untersuchung. In fact, it's more than that. It is planting a Trojan horse, who is a geek here, a Trojan horse bit of spyware on your computer so that it logs your keys. It will follow everything you do. It will get all your passwords to any bank account you may have or other things that you have password protected. It can even remotely turn on the microphone and the camera in your PC without you being aware of it, thereby spying in your own room. It's highly intrusive, very difficult to square with the law in Germany, but I'll not get into that right now. All we're talking about is how highly developed direct surveillance is becoming. And don't think it isn't used. And don't think it's only used against terrorists. And I'll come back to what is a terrorist and what is a suspected terrorist a bit later. It is used, although the police and prosecuting authorities try to play this down. They try and not let too much of it come out in criminal trials. If at all possible, they try and get the evidence, then they secure through the secret surveillance, the real evidence, if you like, and they don't produce the preliminary investigation at the trial because they don't want to give away too much of their surveillance methods. They're extremely intrusive. Yeah, you can be spied upon extremely carefully. There was a proposal, I'll come back to in the European Union, to monitor database searches, for instance. You type in Al-Qaeda bomb and a few other things will immediately be highlighted. That is all direct surveillance. There is another form of surveillance which in a way, and of course they're going to be linked, they are linked, and that is a new word, dataveillance. Now, I'll come back to this particular one in a minute, but I'll go back to the next, just so you get the word dataveillance. The only reason I put her on because she's well prettier to look at than just the word dataveillance. Getting a picture of a computer is not nearly as exciting as getting a picture of a Bobby's helmet with a camera in it. But that is the more insidious way of surveillance. It is the keeping track of all the trails that you leave behind every time you use something electronic. Every time, most of you will be vaguely aware of this, but it's the realization of how far it goes when it gets interconnected that I'm hoping to bring home to you today. Every time you use a credit or a debit card, a bank card, that leaves a trail behind, right? Every time you log on and maybe file your taxes online, as you can now do at the UK, or pay your telephone bill, yeah, for that matter, the fact that you have a telephone record, all those things are kept in databases, pretty massive databases these days. Some of them by private companies. Every time you go to the supermarket, you probably have a loyalty card, yeah, Albert Heijn loyalty card or whatever. It'll tell you what you eat, what you drink, what kind of toilet paper you use, probably what kind of magazine you buy, all that kind of stuff. Amazingly detailed picture of your life. In London, if you want to travel around and you live in London, you will buy an Oyster card, an Oyster card. And you use that to get in and out of the underground and you get considerable reduction, so everybody has one. It keeps a track of every journey you make. Okay? Massive amount of data on it. If you've got a mobile phone, of course you all have a mobile phone. Mine is switched off for now. But if it's not switched off, there'll be a record of wherever the phone is, which is mostly where you are. Yeah? To within a few meters in a city like Maastricht. Very, very close. By the way, another little intrusion trick. The police can switch, you can use a little bit of spyware to switch somebody's microphone on while he's not aware of it. There was one particular drug dealer in the United Kingdom, it was rather a famous case. And they got his mobile phone, and they were aware of the fact that whatever he did, he always had his mobile phone with him. So when he spoke to anybody, even if it was he always had his mobile phone there. And they around with the computer bit in the mobile phone, so that they could listen to anything he said while he was near his own mobile phone. Okay, they convicted him on the basis of it. The amount of intrusion is quite extensive and extremely detailed. And as I said, you want a good example of the United Kingdom being ahead of everybody else. In the United Kingdom, your DNA is taken from you if you're arrested. Yeah? Now it's quite possible that you're arrested and you're totally innocent. So even if you are acquitted or never prosecuted, or even if it is absolutely manifestly clear that you were the wrong person, they will keep your DNA on record. In fact, a senior judge just a couple of weeks ago said they should have everybody's DNA on record. Every resident in the United Kingdom should be demanded to be asked to give his DNA. It's a biometric. Yeah? We're already going to be asked, all of us in Europe, for an iris scan. And of course you have facial recognition, a digital picture of your face already in identity cards and passports in Europe. In the United Kingdom, as a result of this, they have more than 100,000 DNA samples of children, that's people under 18, who have no conviction for any crime whatsoever. And that is growing by the day. Here's Tony Blair giving his own sample, and he says it was marvelous and everybody's DNA should be on file. The database state, which is the surveillance state, is already there. If you have the powers to connect the dots, if you have access to the different databases, the people that record your tax information, your social security information, your private banking data, your travel data, your medical data, if you connect all that up, and what you do at the supermarket and at the underground, and what phone calls you make, where you make your phone calls, what internet websites you browse, if you connect all that up, you literally are naked. There is nothing that whoever has access to the combination of that data doesn't know about you. This is why I was talking about the naked citizen, and I'm going to explain in a minute why I talk about the naked European citizen, because there's this European impetus behind it. That is a serious threat to not just to privacy. I wish people wouldn't talk about privacy. Data protection is an awkward term. Privacy is a wrong term as well. It's not just that you don't want people to pry into your life, to look at you while you're in the shower. That is privacy interference. That's more than that. In the information society, information is power. He or it, who or that, has information on you, has power over you. Your bank decides to give you credit on the basis of their credit score. I'll come to scores in a minute. Yeah? You might be selected for an interview for the next job you apply to on the basis of some kind of analysis of the data without any interview taking place. More and more you are being dealt with on the basis of what's called your digital shadow. And your digital shadow can be highly misleading. That's the next thing I wanted to mention. Let me go a little bit forward in it. And I'll come back to it at the European level, but I should perhaps already mention it. And that is that these data are not just taken at face value, but they're increasingly being analyzed to create profiles and to create scores. And it's not in particular in the anti-terrorist field, but it's being extended into other fields like surveillance of children, surveillance of criminals, suspected criminals, and everybody else. So let me first go to this is the first trend. The first trend is a massive explosion in the amount of data that's being generated, either by direct surveillance or by this data surveillance, yeah? Surveillance over the databases that hold data on you. There is a quality jump, if you like, a quantum